Was off yesterday, and even though I called in to vent, I'm sure I missed the musings of some raving lunatics. And I can't say that they're wrong pertaining to the Yankees, the exact opposite energy of the Mets. What's going on, Tiki?
All's good. And luckily for the Mets, or luckily for the Yankees, I guess I should say unluckily for the Yankees, the Mets and the Giants got canceled yesterday. Therefore, there's no game to react to against one of the best teams in the National League, as the Mets are going to take on in a doubleheader today. But so it puts our ire back on the Yankees.
It does. That's a spotlight that's not leaving. It's a bullseye that's not going to go until they get it off their own back. By start playing better baseball, we will obviously do a lot of Mets later on. This should be a lot of fun. Giants are a good team. Yes, last year seems to have not been an anomaly. You get Scherzer, and the weather's awful, but you get Scherzer's city debut. You got McGill, who's been phenomenal. Giants are a good team, doubleheader. So we'll do a lot of that. But listen, I guess I'm going to ask the question. What is why? And I already know the answer. I'm not even going to ask it. I was going to say, what is the expiration date on us bagging on the Yankees?
What's not bagging on the Yankees? They're average right now. And I guess that's probably just not good enough. But it's questioning the Yankees. We're not knocking them, saying, "Oh, the Yankees suck. Oh, they're terrible.
Well,
they're underachieving."
Well, what
we're saying is they're frustrating as hell to watch. They produce no offense. It's a home run or bust.
Yeah.
And every day it's a different lineup, which is frustrating because nobody can get into a rhythm of what their expectations are. And we got some calls on this yesterday, BT, and it wasn't the lead, but it was some of the calls on why is it why are you experimenting so much? And I guess you could answer that by saying, well, spring training was short. There's some new faces. IKF is new. Josh Donaldson's new. Even Gallo and Rizzo are relatively new because they were midseason additions last year. So we got to just figure out how to get this thing all sorted out. But you give Judge a day off the day before there's a scheduled day off, like he needs 2 days off after 10 games into the season. It makes you scratch your head and say, what's the process?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's going on in the skipper's head that's making him do these things that make us as fans question him so much? Almost every day we're questioning some of these decisions.
Well, we know it's a collaboration with the front office here. I'm actually reading a text. I was going back and forth with somebody this morning that really knows, and they wrote me that they've got performance science guys too who are tied in with the medical team influence the optimal number of days for players to try to keep healthy, like playing Judge and Stanton too much because of history. They did this with Johnny Damon, going back to Joe Girardi, etc. Listen, here's the issue, because the real venom, I could think of the venom, and I think that describes the emotion of Yankee fans toward Cashman right now. It is venomous, man.
Mm-hmm.
And Boone, there's venom too, maybe not quite as fatal venom. Maybe, it just paralyzes you instead of kills you, but there's venom there as well. But we've got to, and I think you and I have done a pretty decent job of this, we've got to at least understand, as we pick out these targets, we got to make sure that we're firing at the proper targets and that we're coming with the proper information so that we don't, I don't want to use shoot, so that we don't come at targets unfairly. And, I do think that there's a little either laziness or lack of information or a little combination of both that are giving Aaron Boone a little bit of a pass in terms of making out the lineup, all right? Because you get a lot of this. Well, he gets fed the numbers. It's all data-driven up. It's the entire franchise collaborating on this. I understand that. But I believe, and also somebody that I spoke with this morning believes this strongly, and they're around the team all the time, so I think they might know, yes, that they lean on the numbers. Yes, they throw back and forth, they exchange ideas. But for the most part, at the end of the day, pen is in Boone's hand, and Boone puts pen to paper.
Yes.
So what Boone's got to start doing is this, all right? I got the lineup for you. I can't stand every single night you flip on. Donaldson's batting first. Rizzo's batting first. LeMahieu's batting first. This guy's here's the lineup. And you might object to it, and I understand why, because it's not the most potent lineup out of the show. I am going 25 to 30 games, and I'm going to put IKF in the leadoff spot.
Why are you so confident that IKF, who has not been great getting on base, he's not hitting right now, why are you confident he's going to come out of that?
Well, I'm not, quite frankly. But I do believe there was a little evidence a year ago. You know this because I dropped the stat when they acquired him in March. The 175 hits he had a year ago would have led the Yankees. All right, so 175 hits. So you throw out that, and then you throw out the fact that he can steal. And it's not just some guys run and their rate is awful. Guy attempted 25 steals, he made it 20 times. That's sublime. So I don't care about the OPS. Don't drown me with geeky numbers. He's the leadoff hitter. I want him batting first. I want DJ batting second, who uses the whole field, who has a good contact rate, and then I'm going to go lefty, righty, righty. I'm going to go Rizzo, Judge, Stanton. Put Judge in the 4 spot, drop Stanton to the 5 hole, put Donaldson at 6, drop Gallo to 7th when he's got to play. Don't waste your time putting Hicks in the leadoff spot. He's got to bat 8th, and whoever's catching is bat 9th. Give me 30-game sample of a lineup that at least theoretically has 2 pieces at the top of the lineup that can do the things that are required to win.
Yeah. Well,
that's where I'm at there, Barber.
Here's the devil's advocate side of this. And, not that I'm saying that Aaron Boone is doing right, because it is frustrating. And I know as a player, and you just want to know what your role is and what your responsibilities are. Am I on base guy today? Who am I, right? Who am I supposed to be? What are you counting on me to do? And by shifting around as much as this lineup has shifted around, you kind of get caught in being in different roles. But in Boone's defense, right, so much of baseball has become, well, is this guy positionally diverse, right? Can he do multiple things for this team? Can he be a leadoff guy? And if we have to slide him back, to be a contact guy, can we do that as well? And so if you're Aaron Judge if you're Aaron Boone and you have so many new faces, relatively new faces, and we hit this at the top, BT, from even Gallo and Rizzo and IKF and now Josh Donaldson. If you have so many new faces, the only way to know that is to experiment with it, and especially because the division is weak right now, meaning nobody's running away from it. I'm not saying they're bad teams, but nobody's running away with this division. I mean, how the Red Sox lost yesterday. Yeah. The Blue Jays are only a game ahead of the Yankees right now. Can't you get away with it? Right? Can't you?
No, they haven't scored 1 run in 20-something innings, so they're not getting away with it.
But at some point, you're not falling so far behind in the division that you're weathering it. And I know Yankees fans don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear, oh, we're weathering this, a little tough transition. You don't want to hear that. You want to hear that we've found our lineup. We're going to be clicking on all cylinders in a month. The weather's going to turn and everything's going to be great. But isn't there an argument that because there's so many new faces, spring training was 2 weeks? He doesn't know this team. Like, isn't there an argument that he's justified in doing what he's doing?
No, I don't think so. But hold on. When you talk about spring training being 2 weeks, if this was the NFL and you had an offensive line that hadn't gelled, right, where you're so dependent on knowing what the other guy's doing, and there's a familiarity, and there's a real allocation of roles that is undeniable.
You're preaching to a choir on that one.
I know I am. That's why I'm coming with that. That's what that might take. Look at the Jets last year. Their offensive line got better as the year went on.
That's right.
They had a few new guys they worked in, and they became functional as the year went on. It's not like basketball where ball movement and spacing.
Yeah, it almost makes it agnostic on the guy. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Baseball just hit. So I'm not going to buy that. And it's interesting. You raise a good point about that. The wiggle room for the way the American League East is going right now. Nobody's going to run away with this thing.
No.
Okay, so your premise is, I believe, 100% right. But the way you apply it is not what I would co-sign. And I'll tell you why. This is where you and I split a little bit. Yes, you've got a laboratory to roll with things that might be a little deficient right now. But I'm going to use that laboratory to try to find something that I believe is much more effective for high-pressure, high-leverage September, October baseball. And listen, Donaldson's going to rake at some point. I don't need Josh Donaldson batting first. I don't need Rizzo batting first. I need a guy that's going to use the whole field, has got some wheels. I know the game has changed. I'm not trying to get it back to the 80s. I'm not. I understand that. But I don't like what they're rolling out there. And I don't know anybody that does. And I think it's unfair to say I think we're missing the mark a bit when we keep using, like, when we lean on the excuse, well, Boone's a bit of a puppet. Boone just does whatever no, that's not, I don't believe that entirely.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong. I believe Aaron Boone has a little more say, if not a lot more say, in terms of where these guys bat in the order numerically. Yes, the science team. All right, hey, Skip, this guy's played 3 days in a row. His soft tissues, his history, sit him down. All right, that's fine. Don't tell me that they've got, these little nerds with pocket protectors knocking on, hey, Aaron, Skip, you got to bat Donaldson first today. No, just write out the damn lineup the way a manager should write out the lineup. This is really ridiculous. I'm getting a lot of energy out because I was off yesterday.
Yeah.
But, geez, this team is horrible.
Well,
they are really rough to watch,
They
man.
haven't found
And they've got more. They can be so much better than this. Sometimes you're deficient. Sometimes you've got inherent holes, which they do, but they are workaroundable if you put the guys in the right spot.
Yeah, there is something to the injury side of it, but I almost think you're preemptively trying to prevent injuries. You're acknowledging that there's I don't want to say it's self-fulfilling, but it almost like you create a situation where it's just like an injury's going to happen, and you're going to say, see, I told you. Right? I hate that.
I can't stand that either. You're 100% right.
I hear I get the injury side of this, but I also understand why Aaron Boone, trying to get some familiarity, is trying to understand what works best. Now, I just needed to look at the Blue Jays. I'm saying, what have the Blue Jays done? The Blue Jays are pretty consistent. George Springer's leading off. Bo Bichette's, he's pulling in second hole. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is always clean up. And then they start to vary a little bit.
They had the injury against us. Their number 4 hitters out.
Yep. Some off days, guys get injured. But for the most part, where the Blue Jays are starting.
That's generally what good teams do.
There is not a question on who's leading off for them or who's in the 3-hole for them. You're going to get the most at-bats, or at least hopefully get the most at-bats for your three of your best hitters, including your best power hitter in Vlad Jr., right? So that's what we're waiting for the Yankees. We hope it happens. It just feels frustrating that it hasn't happened yet. I know we're 10 games in. It's still early. But it's not really that early.
And imagine if Garrett Cole gets bombed in Detroit today, which I don't think he will. But can you imagine? We didn't even really get to that. Listen, guys, we know baseball. Now, the way we communicate baseball in this city is louder, occasionally more obnoxious, more arrogant, certainly more passionate than any place in the country, all right? But we know the game. Collectively, we know the game. We know what's up. And I say that because we know deep down, and not even deep down at this point, we know that there are flaws with the Yankees that are going to be impossible to circumvent. It's going to be all to really navigate in terms of a championship. But we also know that these lineups they're trotting out there, this ain't it. That's not what we're here for. So that's got to change. That should be step one. And if that bombs, well, then you got to blow it up. You got to do something radical if ownership would even spend the money, which is another big issue. 877-337-6666. All right, let's get to you guys. First up, Joe's on Long Island. Joe on the Fan, Tiki and Tierney. What up, Joe?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Saturday.
Listen, it's simple. We've this argument about the Yankees and their lineup. It's the same argument we had for 162 games last year. It's just how do they put the same? How are we in the same situation a year later? No consistency in the lineup. Spring training. All right, you're saying we got new guys. We got 2. Donaldson, who's a vet, and IKF.
Yeah.
And when numbers come in, okay, you look at Donaldson and his numbers and figure out maybe you want to bat him 5, 6, whatever. But spring training, you have to work that out. And I don't care that spring training is 2 weeks long. This team still has a core that we've had now for 5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's mind-boggling. And, you got Rizzo already getting a day off. Why? Judge getting a day off. Why?
Yeah.
Especially Judge. You turned down $30 million a year. You're turning 31 this year. You got a contract that's going to bring you well past, 37, 38 years old.
Yeah. Hey,
lucky
Joe,
that you got that.
imagine this. Joe, imagine if he signs the deal. And how many days off is he going to get when he's 32? What, he's going to be off for a week, go to the Bahamas?
Exactly. Look, I know, and you know what's frustrating? I have this conversation, guys in the gym. You're in the bar. You're at your friend's house. Why do I feel the Yankee fan base and you guys, everyone, all your colleagues at the station?
Go ahead.
Why do I feel that we understand this is a problem, and you don't hear anything from management? It's like they don't see anything wrong with it.
That's a great point.
10 games,
I don't know.
10 games, 10 different lineups.
I don't know.
You don't want to say Boone. You don't want to say Boone's a puppet. We call a puppet because he looks that way.
Yeah, I don't do that,
like,
Joe.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call there. Why don't you take it, Tiki? I don't like that. I think that's disrespectful for a man who's been a third generation baseball player, baseball family. I get the go ahead, Tiki.
Could it be just like paralysis by overanalysis? Like, could that be it? Like, all right,
Yes.
All right, Skip. Someone walks into your room. He just drops a whole bunch of stuff on your desk. Like, all right, you got this soft tissue. He ran this many, the GPS thing in his shoulder, in his
the tracker,
the tracker in his belt. He did this in XYZ, and you know what? All right, you got this pitcher coming up. He's 215 against him historically. The weather is XYZ. All this stuff he just throw on his desk and like, all right, go make a lineup. Yeah. And so now all of a sudden he's got to take all this stuff into account as opposed to just going, "Hey, Aaron, how you feel, man?" "Oh, I feel great, Skip. I feel like I know this guy. I know I've had bad days in previous years against him, but I've studied him a lot. I'm ready to go off on him." All right, great. You're in the lineup. Instead, It's like all this other paper says, "All right, Judge, you need a day off because we don't want you to hurt your calf like you did 3 years ago. All right, so you sit down. Even though we have an off day tomorrow, just sit down today." Yeah. And by the way,
just relax.
This
buddy.
is the rubber match against the Orioles. We're going to sit you down. All right, go ahead. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
That drove me nuts.
Oh, man.
And they didn't play well against the Orioles last year. Who the hell are you to take the Orioles for granted at this point? Are you kidding me? I mean, we used to roll in there. We used to win like 29-7 aggregately. Now we're losing series.
That's right.
877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney show here on The Fan.